This is not complicated. It's wrong. And we have to stand up and say so and do something about it. 1 million more Americans have gone into poverty in the last year. Not shockingly to any of you, over the last 5 years, the poverty rate has consistently gone up in America. Now, you know, I think it says something about us as human beings, how we treat our friends and our neighbors when they're in trouble, don't you? I was raised not to turn my back on my neighbors when they're hurting. I was raised to open the door, bring them in, give them a hand up, give them a chance to do better. It says something about the character of America, how we treat those who are living here and living on the margins. This country is hungry for a sense of national community again, hungry for a sense that we're not out there by ourselves, that people aren't out there on an island, that we're in this together. And people are looking for some higher calling that all of us as Americans can join in together. Well, this is the cause. This is the cause that we need to rally around. This is the cause that America needs to respond to. You know, we live in an America where the wage gap has gotten worse and worse. Real wages for working people are not going up. This gang in Washington likes to say that the economy is recovering. Yeah, the economy is recovering for people with capital. The economy is not recovering for people who are working hard for a living. It's just not. And we can see it. Real wages stagnant or going down. Poverty rate going up in America. We need to do something first about the wage gap in this country. This is not a very complicated thing. We ought to end the national embarrassment of our national minimum wage and raise the minimum wage. The minimum wage in America should be at least $7.50 an hour. And by the way, if we can't get this crowd that's in the White House to do something about it, we need to go right to the people. You know, I'm helping lead minimum wage initiatives in Ohio, in Michigan, in Arizona, in the city of Albuquerque. We need to go straight to the American people because they will respond to this. And I might add, it's not just about raising the minimum wage. One of the greatest anti-poverty movements in American history was the organized labor movement. And we need to empower working people to organize. We need to put the law on the side of working people instead of just being on the side of the employers. The men and women of organized labor have made an enormous difference in people's lives. They made a difference in my own life. My mother and father have health care today because of the union. My brother, my only brother, and his family have health care today because of the union. We need, instead of having employers who violate the law during an organizing campaign get a slap on the wrist 2 or 3 years later, we need to change the law and have real labor law reform in this country so that working people can organize, so that people who violate the law are held accountable for violations of the law. And by the way, on that same subject, since I'm on it, we ought to ban the hiring of replacement workers for strikers, permanent replacement workers for strikers, and make that the law of the land. You know, I've started this poverty center at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. We're working very hard every day to come up with new ideas about how we fight poverty in this country. But we have to rally America to respond. One of the things that I've done over the last 6 months is meet with families who live in poverty. 25 or 30 different states, including right here in Iowa. I remember vividly several weeks ago when I was here, meeting with a woman. I was sitting around a table with a bunch of folks who live in poverty, and there was a woman there. She must have been 75, 80 years old. She had lived on a farm all her life. Her husband had passed away a few years before, and she was in a bad place. Her farm was about to be foreclosed on. She tried to go to work. She got a job at McDonald's, worked there for a little while, and they told her she was too old to do the job. You know, I got to tell you, if this country can't be there for somebody like that, what do we exist for? I mean, somebody who's been there, worked hard all her life, lived on the farm, contributed to her community, contributed to this country. That's what this is about. We have an enormous opportunity available to us, and we have to fill the vacuum of leadership. And by the way, it's not just about filling the vacuum of leadership on moral issues here in this country. I mean, you can't be an example for the rest of the world if you turn your back on people within your own borders who are struggling. But we also ought to lead on the great moral issues that face this world, and we're not doing it. I'm telling you, the poverty in America You know, poverty in America is moderate compared to poverty around the world. Half of this planet lives on $2 or less a day. 3 billion people live on $2 or less a day. Is America leading an effort on this? No. Today, as we celebrate, there is a genocide going on in Sudan, in Darfur. It's happening right in front of us. Black people are being killed because they're black. They're being driven out of their homes because they're black. After Rwanda, we said we're never going to let this happen again. Well, never again doesn't mean anything unless you stand behind it. Are we leading? Is America stepping to the plate? No. These issues matter. I was in Britain a few months ago and met with Tony Blair, and I heard him talk about what they're trying to do. They're moving to eradicate poverty in Britain by the year 2020. They're taking 2 million kids off the poverty rolls. They're doing creative, innovative things. They're leading in trying to do something about climate change, global warming. They're leading on Africa and the issue of AIDS in Africa. They're leading on trying to do something about the genocide in Darfur. Where is America's moral leadership? If we expect the world to look up to and respect our nation, they will never do it unless we show that we're willing to lead on the great moral issues that face our planet. So